Almost 3 months ago, I did a video about who I think Patient 46 is, but then the Bobby Docs conclusion was leaked and my theory was immediately proven wrong. But now the book has come out, so I want to do a video going over everything to do with Patient 46, both who they are and how they are. This should go without saying, but if you haven't read the story yet and you don't want to be spoiled, then you shouldn't be watching this now, and you should just go read the story or watch my summary for GGY and then come back. But without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get started.
There's a part of me, no true psychology, breaking down my sanities, oh my anxiety, waking cause I cannot see what's in front of me, hey.
The main character of GGY is Tony, a 12-year-old kid who wants to be an investigative journalist. He gets an assignment where he has to write a story, and he tries to find inspiration for the story at Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. He notices that on the arcades, there's always one person who has the top spot, someone named GGY, whose scores are impossibly high. He begins looking into it, but as he does, he notices Glamrock Freddy watching him, and even once following him. He finds out that GGY actually hacked the Glamrock animatronics and also used a hacked Pizzaplex play pass to let 3 different therapists into the Pizzaplex. These therapists ended up going missing and are presumed dead. Tony writes about all his discoveries, but one of his friends in the group, who has been calling himself Rab, completely changes the story. Tony decides his friend doesn't deserve to be called by his fake name anymore and instead will be called by his real name, Greg. Greg invites Tony to the Pizzaplex to meet some people, and the story ends right there. So there's quite a bit to unpack here. This story confirms that Gregory is actually Patient 46 through many means, and I will go through all of them here. In the therapy tapes, it is revealed that Patient 46, not Vanny, but Patient 46, is the one to release the glitch trap virus throughout the Fazbear Entertainment systems.
The glitch extended beyond the robots. It went system-wide. It began infecting all the machines, and when the techs traced the glitch back to its origin, it led them to you.
In this story, however, we have GGY be the one to hack the animatronics. GGY is a hacker able to hack the animatronics, but is also able to hack its play pass to have all the properties of its security pass. Patient 46 is said to be a phenomenal hacker, which lines up with this.
I'm surprised by your knowledge of computers. You're something of a phenom. It means you have unusual skill, like a hacker.
There's also the fact that when Rab, aka Greg, aka GGY, tries to cover up what he's doing and changes the story, he essentially makes the story into a fantasy story where there's a corporate conspiracy that reaches another planet where there is a wizard and GGY is the wizard's favorite apprentice. There's also an animatronic supervillain who needs to fight a giant tentacle monster. This is very clearly a fantasy, one based on the reality of GGY's situation, which I'll get to a bit later, but my point here is that GGY, Greg, likes to create fantasies. And what does the therapist mention about Patient 46?
If you could process those feelings, how do you think it would affect your fantasies? Would you keep them in the way they are?
Patient 46 has fantasies just like GGY, but the biggest evidence for Patient 46 being Gregory comes from Tony looking into GGY at his school. Using his hacked playpass, GGY let 3 women into the Pizzaplex. As it turns out, all 3 of them were therapists that worked at Tony's school, and all 3 of them went missing. With all the other suspicious stuff that GGY did, it seemed like GGY saw the therapist, but they mentioned to figure out what GGY was doing at the Pizzaplex, and so he killed them. This is just like what Patient 46 does to their therapists. The story makes it extremely clear that GGY is Patient 46, but is GGY Gregory? Well, it's pretty clear overall simply given that the name matches, GGY the first, middle, and last letters of the name Gregory. It's pretty obvious, but there's some other things too. Gregory, robot or not, seems heavily associated with the bite victim. Both have the t-shirt with 2 stripes, and both have the shorts, and in one of the endings, Gregory's eating a Freddy Fazbear candy, one that is shown in lighting that makes it look yellow, and with a bite to the head. It's a reverse bite of 83. First, a yellow Freddy character bites the crying child, and then Gregory bites the yellow Freddy animatronic on the head, associating the two with each other. We're also shown art of the crying child in the FNaF character encyclopedia, and we're shown that he has a band-aid on his left knee. Gregory has a band-aid in the exact same place. This same art also shows that the bite victim has brown hair, as we saw in FNAF 4, but also brown eyes. Who else has brown hair and brown eyes? Gregory. That's obviously not incredible evidence, as brown hair and brown eyes isn't that rare of a combination. Hell, even I have brown hair and brown eyes. But coupled with all the rest, I think it is important to note. But Rab is also stated to have brown hair and brown eyes, and throwing the fact that he's named Greg on top of that, it's pretty clear that Gregory is GGY, and GGY is Patient 46, meaning Gregory is Patient 46. Rab is even said to have been picked on a lot, which, while that is a common character trait and wouldn't be evidence on its own, with all the other context, it is interesting to note. So all this confirms that Gregory is actually Patient 46, but is the Gregory that is Patient 46 the same one that we play as? Kind of, but I think it goes deeper than that. I talked about this in my Frailty video, but I'll go over it again here. In Security Breach, scattered around the Pizzaplex are Faz Life magazines, and these magazines are said to be quarterly. That means that there would be one every 3 months or 4 every year. In total, there are 19 or 20 of these magazines, which would mean that the Pizzaplex opened 5 years before the events of Security Breach. In GGY, when Tony is looking through the files of the therapist, he only looks through the ones that have worked within the past 2 years, because the Pizzaplex wasn't around before then. Basic math, 5 minus 2 equals 2, of course, or at least that's what a lot of people have been saying for some reason. A lot of people think that this story is 2 years before Security Breach, but it is actually 3. I think the actual reason people think the story is 2 years before Security Breach is because it's said that Mary Schneider started working as a therapist 3 years before her disappearance, but this has nothing to do with the Pizzaplex, so therefore GGY takes place 3 years before Security Breach. But Rab, aka Greg, aka Gregory in this story, is 12 at the time of GGY, meaning that Gregory by the time of Security Breach would be 15, but that just doesn't feel right. He doesn't seem that old, does he? No. He seems like maybe a maximum of like 12, but he's 12 in GGY 3 years prior. That doesn't make sense with the context that we have about Gregory in Security Breach. There really doesn't seem to be a way of him being 15. Gregory in GGY, though, also has a hacked play pass, allowing him to go anywhere in the Pizzaplex. So why would Gregory not be able to go literally anywhere in Security Breach? Why wouldn't he use it to get around? Why do we have to find the security passes? It wouldn't make sense. So with Patient 46 being Gregory, how can this work? Well, here comes the controversial part, Gregory being a robot. But while some people don't like it, in fact a lot of people don't like it, in fact most people don't like it, I think that it's probably the most likely option. I made a whole ass video on the topic back in September, so you could just go watch that video if you want, but I'm gonna go over all the evidence once again here, but a bit more briefly. Though talking about it over less time doesn't mean I'll be talking about it for little time, it might take quite a bit, so let's get on with it. In Michael's room, as we can find it in Security Breach, there is a code. The code reads as follows. Break and mend I built the breath they hunt now drawn to life, not real still keen, and frit and fraught with thought and zest and jest and no blunt woes, dodge, duck, flash, shoot, crawl, run, crush the vile band, cry not, try not, do not hold out hope, your life, your aim will save those with soul. The fact that this is in Michael's room tells us that he is the one writing this. I mean, why would anyone else write this in Michael's room besides Michael himself? And the results of the code heavily imply Gregory to be a robot. Michael is said to have built a breath which is now being hunted by characters. The breath is supposedly living, but the life is not real, as in it's not an actual human soul. After that, all of the different movements that Gregory can do in Security Breach are listed, including shooting, of course referring to the Faz Blaster, which is also brought up again later when it's stated that the breath's aim will save those with soul. The code also says cry not, which would imply that the breath would cry otherwise, possibly connecting him to the bite victim. It's also stated that the breath will crush the vile band, meaning destroy the animatronics. In Security Breach, after 3 AM, Gregory decides to destroy all the animatronics, saying that they can upgrade Freddy, but doing that is completely unnecessary, especially when you consider that right after upgrading Freddy with Roxy's eyes, Gregory's plan is to simply leave. So why did he destroy all the animatronics? Well, because he was programmed to do so. The breath is said to destroy the animatronics, and in Security Breach, we, as Gregory, destroy the animatronics. He's clearly not a normal kid, because he's a vulnerable kid, but for whatever reason he just decides to destroy all the animatronics like a savage. If Gregory's a robot, it explains the wall code very well, and it also explains his abnormality, and it explains a few other interesting things about him in the game. I think we all know about the evidence regarding the static on the screen whenever Vanny is near you. A lot of people say that it could be because she's using an illusion disc, but the static on Gregory's eyes is the same as the static we see on the cameras. Why exactly would an illusion disc do that? There's also the fact that in the fourth closet, it is shown that on cameras, illusion disc altered objects are made blurry, but when we see Vanny on the camera, she is not blurry, meaning that she can't be using an illusion disc. Phasar Frights does show illusion tech without the use of illusion discs, but those aren't technical in any aspect and would therefore not make Gregory's eyes reflect camera static at all. Some argue that it's simply a gameplay mechanic and is not actually canon, but the character encyclopedia states that Vanny does in fact cause distortions to Gregory's vision. Some also argue that the character encyclopedia calls Gregory a human, but if he's to be a robot, do you really think that the character encyclopedia would just flat out state that to be the case? It would not. Plus, the book also states Charlie to be a human, despite the page mentioning both Charlie from the games and the books, and listing the novels as her appearances, meaning that it's a general statement about Charlie everywhere. It seems to more so be avoiding spoilers, so we can't exactly use that to say that Gregory isn't a robot. Not enough? What about the fact that Freddy says that Gregory looks different to him when he gets Roxy's eyes? I used to not think this actually meant anything, because it's not like we can see the inner workings of the other Glamrock animatronics with Roxy's eyes or anything. But if Gregory's a robot, he's clearly one that works differently to the Glamrocks, more advanced. That's why he's able to see Vanny, but his eyes still glitch because of her. So seeing Gregory differently but not the other animatronics does make sense. But if you use the debug menu and encounter Vanessa with Roxy's eyes, she looks exactly the same. No difference. So if Gregory was a human just like her, why does he look different? What about the fact that Gregory can survive a fall from any height? In actual gameplay, I guess it makes sense, like when you jump over the rail on the stairs in the East Arcade, sure, I could get behind that just being for gameplay. But in some parts of the game, he falls from a massive height and somehow survives perfectly unscathed, and this actually happens canonically in cutscenes, like when he falls from the Monty Golf catwalks or into the sewer. Massive falls that would kill any person, let alone a child, but Gregory somehow survives. And of course, the evidence all of us know, the Silver Ass trilogy. These books showed us that it is possible for a robot to be imbued with emotions so strong that they replicate a human being, creating a robot that seems exactly like a human. So it's established that humanoid robots can exist, but furthermore, the events of the Silver Ass trilogy are actually extremely similar to the events of Security Breach. Both contain a controversial mall that was built over an old Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. In that location is William Afton, still kicking it and psychically controlling animatronics from underneath there, including an animatronic that attacks you without using legs, an animatronic wolf, and one of the original core 4 of the series being absent. Both have Afton using the help of Elizabeth Afton, see this video here for how Vanessa is connected to Elizabeth, and also at first working alongside an amalgamation of animatronics, and which then turns on him and attacks him. In the fourth closet, throwing him into the fire, while in Security Breach attacking him in a burning room. So with all these similarities, if the Silver Ass trilogy has a robot protagonist, doesn't it make sense that Security Breach would as well? The Twisted Ones also has the animatronics being controlled by William to bring Charlie to him. In the Security Breach trailer, Afton yells that Vanny has to bring him what he wants. William also spends likely months, if not years, chilling in the recharge station. So why when Gregory goes down there does he finally come out? Because Gregory is what he wants, and he wants Gregory to experiment with because he's a robot. Remember earlier how I talked about the fantasy Greg made? Well, what if that is based on the truth of Gregory's situation? The fantasy goes over a corporate conspiracy, clearly connecting to Fazbear Entertainment, as well as an animatronic supervillain that has to fight a tentacle monster, connecting to Afton fighting the Blob. GGY was the wizard's favorite apprentice. This all connects GGY and in turn Gregory to Glitchtrap. Hell, Greg also uses the codename Rab, which was actually short for Dr. Rabbit, and he claims the name just quote-unquote came to him. Coupling all that with the fact that Gregory is the one who infected the animatronics with the Glitchtrap heavily implies that Gregory, as Patient 46, is possessed by Glitchtrap. But with what we went over earlier, it seems most likely that the Gregory that is possessed by Glitchtrap and is Patient 46 is a different one to the one that we play as. Think about this. Mike builds Gregory to destroy the Glamrock animatronics, but also raises him like a normal kid, so that he can destroy the Glamrocks when he's old enough. But when Vanessa is possessed by Glitchtrap, she tosses that Gregory out onto the streets and grabs one of the older Gregory robots that was currently inactive and replaces it. Mike catches on to the abnormality of Gregory, and with the Pizzaplex being built around his house, he moves out, disabling the infected Gregory bot and leaving it in his house. Fazbear Entertainment finds the robot and has no need for it, throwing it under the Pizzaplex and into the sewers. After being disabled, it managed to slowly regain consciousness, eventually being joined by another robot inhabited by the spirit of Charlotte, helping him remember his past. However, with Glitchtrap in his mind, he was forced into being evil, and was preferred over Vanessa by Glitchtrap for some reason, probably because he's less suspicious. But for whatever reason, he's more interested in the younger Gregory robot, the one that was thrown out onto the streets. This would add up, as despite already having a Gregory on his side, he still wants ours, just like how in the fourth closet he already has an older Charlie bot, but he still wants the third one anyway. It would be a bit unclear why, but it's what seems most likely to be the case with the evidence that we have. So although Gregory being a robot is an extremely controversial theory, I think with all the evidence presented by Security Breach, it is the option that makes the most sense. But anyways guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to, and let me know in the comments what you thought of the theory. But I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. The next theory will probably be about the storyteller, so stay tuned for that coming out in the next couple weeks or so, probably less, but I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys!